Hi, everyone, and welcome to the latest in the Best Practice Studies series from Distribution Strategy Group. This one's the 2024 State of Distributor Technology, Building Your Tech Stack for Success. I'm Ian Heller. I'll be your color commentator today, but the play-by-play goes over to my friend and our resident genius and my business partner, Jonathan Bine, PhD. Jonathan, how are you today, my friend?
Good to be with my co-resident genius.
Yeah, well, thanks. I kind of put you in a position where you had to say that. But hey, we're very, very excited to present this content to you. There's some really cool stuff in here that will help you run a better business and be more successful. But before we do that, let's do a little bit of business. First, I want to tell you about a product that Jonathan developed, and he's too shy to brag about himself, called Demand RX. If you want to know what each account of yours should be buying by product category versus what they are buying, and look at the gap, so you can do things like sales coaching and sales management. This is the tool for you. It'll also tell you market share and wallet share. It's got this amazing panel that you interact with. It's a dashboard, basically, or a portal. If you look at the graphic on the bottom right, that top right graphic, you can actually zoom in and then look at individual accounts. It's an amazing system. It's the best thing out there for understanding potential by account, by market, by product category. So if you're interested, call Jonathan or email him at jbein, Jbein at distributionstrategy.com. Wonderful tool. It's been very, very well received by the people who are subscribing and then renewing. Okay, and then next, very happy to tell you about our upcoming conference, Applied AI for Distributors. There's a QR code you can scan there to get to the website. We have a whole string of speaker announcements. Some of these are brand new. So Zach Cass, who is an AI futurist and did an absolutely stellar job last year, is back. I'm sure he'll do a great job again. He got phenomenal reviews. He was with OpenAI, the Chat GPT people. Now he's out telling the world the exciting future and some of the warnings about AI. Paul Beyer is going to do a general session on how to use tools like ChatGPT or generative AI in your company. He's also going to do a pre-show workshop that we'll be announcing soon. Mark Brohan, who's a legend in the industry, and a senior VP of B2B and market research at Digital Commerce 360. We'll be talking about some of their research at Digital Commerce 360 about AI. Brooks Hamilton, who was another killer presenter from last year, is coming back. And we're announcing later today that Brian Walker, who's the Chief Product Officer at Grainger, we'll be doing a Q&A and presentation about what Grainger has learned about AI and what their progress is. So it's really getting to be an exciting lineup with a lot more coming soon. June 4th through 6th at the Chicago Marriott O'Hare. Make sure you go to our website, distributionstrategy.com, or appliedai4distributors.com for more information and to register. This show will sell out, so don't wait forever. Okay, with that, let's bring in Kristen Tom from Whitecup, who's going to talk a little bit about what Whitecup offers for distributors, which is a very, very impressive lineup of tools. Kristen, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Ian. Thanks so much. Appreciate you having me on.
Of course.
Everyone, as Jonathan mentioned, I'm Kristen Tom, our VP of Product at Whitecup, and I'm excited to tell you just a little bit today on how we're using AI to help distributors like you identify their next best actions within CRM and BI software. One great example is top related products. Just like Amazon makes a ton of money recommending related products, your sales reps see which products to recommend to customers based on their buying history. They can also get notifications when customers are most likely to reorder. And your marketing team can easily see which customers are most likely to buy your slow-moving stock, so you can send them targeted email campaigns as well. So with Whitecup, you can truly maximize every move. Check out our website today to discover your next best action.
Hey, Kristen, I moderated a panel at your user event last year, and the users were fanatical about how much they loved Whitecup. So you guys are doing, I know you're the lead technology person there. You've really built some great tools for distributors, and it was very apparent in that discussion and from our other discussions with distributors. So way to go.
Thanks so much, Ian. It's so fun to get this new stuff out there for folks and start getting into AI deeper and deeper. It's just a lot of fun to work on. So appreciate it.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for your support today. And now Sandy Leon, our friend from Epicor. Sandy, you've been on many of these programs. Thank you so much for your support. Epicor is one of the leading ERPs for mid-sized distributors. So I think that's fair to say, right, Sandy? Oh, you're on mute, I think, Sandy. But yeah, so we're delighted to have your support. Thanks for coming back.
There we go. Thanks very much, Ian. We're happy to be a sponsor today. Next slide, you've already there. Epicore's here. We say we're here for the hardworking businesses that make, move, and sell. And when it comes to the move, your industry, we've been in the distribution industry for over 50 years. We know your world, we understand your challenges, and we can help you solve them. In fact, when we ask new customers why they chose Epicore, the thing we hear most often is that we get them, and our software is the best fit for what they do right out of the box. Next slide. Our ERP solutions were, and still are, developed with distributors at the table to fit your unique distribution needs. It's really what sets us apart. We have 5 decades of experience built into our solutions, and if you're growing, we've got the ERP that's going to support your growth. Our distribution customers tell us that Epicore, Profit 21, or Eclipse completely sets them up for growth, and the growing part becomes easy. A recent third-party study, which was done by IDC, which you can find on our website, shows impressive statistics on how companies have benefited with our ERPs. If you're looking for new technology that's going to allow you to grow and become more profitable and transform your business, we'd love to talk. Feel free to reach out to me or to visit our website. Thanks.
Yeah. Hey, Sandy, look at this. You know, these numbers are amazing. A 412% ROI in 3 years, a payback in 11 months, 22% faster delivery time, 35% more inventory turns. I mean, these are the ways that distributors win in the marketplace, over deliver to their customers and get the financial results for their shareholders.
Yeah, we love those numbers because it's not Epicore who is saying those numbers. It's a third-party study which we didn't have anything to do with. So
yeah,
it does show kind of what you can get when you've got an ERP that's going to help you grow.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again, Sandy. It's great to see you, and really appreciate your support of this event.
Thank you.
You bet. All right. So, Jonathan, I am going to hand things over to you, my friend, and you can get into the meat of the content. And I'll be here to manage the questions.
Fantastic. And as our audience should know, do feel free to ask questions. Ian will make a determination whether to handle it in the moment or perhaps defer it to a later time. We're going to talk about several different angles on technology trends and distribution, technology adoption. The first is what we call the core technology adoption and satisfaction. So this is really looking at core functions that are part of distributors today. That includes obviously an ERP, increasingly a CRM, probably pricing and profitability, perhaps warehouse management, marketing automation, and BI. And what we've studied, by the way, we should note that the respondents to our survey, we think, are more technologically oriented than the rest of the distribution population. So as we look at some of the data today, let's take that into account, perhaps even handicap some of the numbers a little bit based on the bias of the respondents. But here's a couple of things that we think are true, regardless of whether there's a bias in the data that we have. First is that there's been a really heavy shift to cloud for core technologies, except for warehouse management, which still has a significant on-premise component. That is, when we look at the core technologies, a number of them are actually natively cloud, and others have converted to cloud over the last few years, and that train has left the station quite a while ago. So cloud is big. Second piece that we're seeing is that in e-commerce, we saw such a big wave of e-commerce activity from, let's say, 2015 to 2020, maybe even midway through COVID. What we're starting to see now is that when e-commerce platforms get adopted, it's primarily a replacement rather than a greenfield, meaning somebody is on the second generation of the platform that they're using. I would say that I know there is innovation coming with e-commerce, but the category of e-commerce as a whole, I would classify as a mature technology at this point. I mean, for some people it may feel new, but we're going to see in other data that it's pretty well adopted. one of the really big things that we're seeing in the data, as well as from anecdotally, and we have a lot of anecdotal data to support this, CRM is the new e-commerce in terms of a big adoption wave. We've talked about the centrality of CRM, where CRM has its own identity that's not just dependent on the ERP. The big shift that we're seeing now is the move towards purpose-built CRM in distribution. So Kristen spoke about White Cup. White Cup would be a prime example of purpose-built for distribution, as opposed to a more general platform such as a Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics. We believe, and perhaps there's a bit of a call to action here if you're not already engaged, we believe that CRM adoption is going to be significant through the end of the decade. On the point of marketing automation, which is related to both e-commerce and CRM, it's showing that 70% of the respondents are doing marketing automation. But when we looked at the platforms that they're using, it turns out that most of what they're using, it would not be considered a true marketing automation platform. It might be more of an email marketing platform like Constant Contact or MailChimp or something like that. That being said, the adoption of full marketing automation is growing, and it's growing at a pretty good rate, even though the base is small. Ian, did you have a comment?
Well, I think, it's interesting to me that if you look at this bullet point, and I was going to wait till the next one, where a lot of this stuff is homegrown, there's a lot of enthusiasm for adopting technology, and the rate is increasing. But when you're doing your homegrown pricing and profitability, and 70% of marketing automation is MailChimp, Constant Contact, there's still a long way to go for these companies to be technologically mature.
Absolutely. And the other axis that's shown here is the satisfaction with these solutions. We're showing the percent who were either very satisfied or satisfied. So notice that the scale of the graph goes up to about 50%. This doesn't include neutral, dissatisfied, very dissatisfied. So there's opportunities for technology companies to deliver a higher quality experience for the customers. And I think part of that comment may be, hey, we're using a homegrown thing and it's maybe not working as well as it could be working. So
yeah, it's not scalable. We do have a question from the audience, Jonathan, from Amit. Does warehouse management include automation, things like robots and cobots?
It should. It should. And that's a growing part of warehouse automation. Although we're going to see some trends on warehouse automation, on adoption of robotic technology in some of the slides a little bit later on. Okay, now we also just wanted to do an overlay about where AI is getting traction, and one of the things that we've asked in this survey as well as in other surveys is, how are people using AI in different parts of their business? Let's say different functional areas such as supply chain, purchasing, HR, customer service, et cetera. And so the graph is showing the blue here is currently in regular use. The red is in the process of deploying now. Green is planned to deploy in 1 to 2 years, and the purple is within 2 to 3 years. So if we look at the set of application areas at the top, there are functional areas: supply chain, merchandising, purchasing, finance, cybersecurity. We're not seeing as much deployment in those areas at this point. The areas where it's really getting traction, at least in our population that responded, people are doing stuff with IT, and that could mean generating code, generating scripts using AI to help out in IT. In HR, which has historically not been a huge part in distribution, HR has a different role today. AI is being used for predicting churn among employees. It's being used to predict the best candidate. It's being used to figure out career growth and spot the fast trackers. I would say that a lot of the HR approaches that, say, an IBM had 30 years ago are now making their way into distribution with the help of AI. Customer service, we're going to talk more about this. Customer service, the whole explosion of ChatGPT and taking customer service from dealing with a warm body, or maybe less than a warm body, I think we've all had that experience, to actually a pretty smart chatbot. That's starting to happen. Marketing, sales, website, digital, all definitely getting good traction in the deployment of AI. We're going to see that a lot of the technologies that we've been tracking for the last few years in state of distributor tech actually have AI in them, and so that's part of what's fueling this. So, okay, we typically have been organizing our state of distributor technology around a customer journey, looking at shopping, buying, fulfillment, invoicing / payment, and support. One thing that we note is that the invoicing / payment could actually occur right at the time of fulfillment, or at least invoicing could. So although it implies a strict linear order here, those two functions could occur concurrently. So let's take a look, first of all, at what we mean by technology adoption curve. I think many of you are familiar with the concept, maybe not the particular numbers. Jeffrey Moore, who wrote Crossing the Chasm, a landmark book around how technology gets adopted, really popularized, but did not create the technology adoption curve. It actually goes back to the early 60s. And the way they characterize a new technology is that when you have less than 2.5% of the market, you're in what's known as the innovator stage of technology adoption. So these people are, really mavericks in their organization. The solutions might look more customized. These people are willing to take risk in a very, very significant way. The next phase, up to about 13.5% of the total market, are known as early adopters. So they have a lot in common with the innovators, meaning the customers who are innovators. But there's a little bit less risk involved, and it's starting to move towards that early majority where the folks who know they need to keep up with the competition are adopting at that point. They're known as pragmatists as opposed to the visionaries in the early adopter phase. Late majority is when we get to that 50% point, up to about 83% of the adoption. So that's the late majority. They adopt because they pretty much know they need to. And then finally, that last part are the laggards who are skeptical. So one of the things that we've noticed over the years that we've done this survey is that what you say is important often is ahead of where you are adopting. That's one of the things we've noticed. Although with the AI technology survey, or the AI functional areas, the places where they said it was important is exactly where they are adopting. So let's take a look at what's happening with shopping. I know we've discussed this in a number of different webcasts that we've done. For shopping is the process of researching, evaluating, assessing products before you buy them. And so there's any number of ways that you could shop. You could shop by talking to a customer service rep or field sales rep, or online, or in a branch. There's all kinds of ways you can shop, which is distinct from the act of buying. The technologies, the emerging or new technologies that we've been tracking over the years include automated product selectors and configurators, virtual assistants, or smart chatbots, image recognition for helping customers identify products, and then cross-selling. And I think what's really striking here is that based on the data that we have from survey responses, we're really looking at significant adoption of each of these individual technologies over the next 3 years. So we're looking at the curve between now and 2027. And what this is showing is that, perhaps a quarter of the survey respondents are using automated product selectors and configurators now. We expect just massive growth until up to 2027, and similar big growth for essentially all of these technologies between now and 2027.
Hey, Jonathan, we've been doing this for years. You've been doing this for years. Have you ever seen adoption rates like this before?
Something is juicing the adoption rates, right? So the answer to your question, no. That was a yes or no question. The answer would be no. But the behind the no, there's something that's juicing it, and I think as we came into this decade, COVID really juiced the adoption of e-commerce technology and that whole world. But then I think there's other things, including AI, but not only AI, that are causing this shift. I think we should point out that even though the technologies that we're looking at have various combinations of efficiency for the distributor, creating efficiencies for the distributor versus creating a better customer experience for their customer. So let's dig in here a little bit to shopping. Excuse me. The selectors and configurators provide a really simple interactive way to automate the process of more complex configurations. And even without using AI, some of the number of possibilities of these configurations is large. So this might have been done by a customer service rep or by an engineering team for a distributor, or perhaps by the customer. Product selectors and configurators create great efficiency. Create great efficiency there for the distributor and a better customer experience for the customer. The deployment till now has been a little slow, a little sluggish. It's mostly been driven by what configurators are available from top manufacturers. So there are certain industries where manufacturers have been very proactive in creating these selectors and configurators, and that's starting to spread to other industries as well.
If I can just interject there, also, I think these configurators have, as a result, been manufacturer specific, right? So the manufacturer will put together configuration capabilities for their own SKUs. But, if you're building a hose assembly, you might have one manufacturer for the manifold versus the valve versus the hose. And until AI came along, it wasn't really possible, I think, to efficiently build configurators across manufacturers very easily. Is that fair?
It's true. And there was actually there's a rest in peace tombstone for an AI configurator company back in the Symbolic AI days. It was based in Austin, Texas, and they were using AI then. But I think you're right, Ian. I think this vendor-independent configuration piece is going to emerge in the next few years, and it will be really super powerful. So, hey, do you want to talk about item recognition? I know that's one that you've championed for a while.
Yeah, I think it'll be integrated with voice ordering. I think, look, if you download the Grainger app or Home Depot or Amazon app and point it at a product, it'll match it up. I think you had a slide in here. I don't know if you still do, with several different config or item recognition engines looking at a vise that I bought and trying to match it up. And I think that's going to get integrated into AI enabled glasses that also have a microphone built into them. So you can shop free of the constraint of the keyboard and the computer, so if I'm working in a warehouse and I need a new tape gun, I can look down at the tape gun and say, hey, Alexa or Grainger or whatever, get me a new one of these, right? And it'll automatically place the order. So I think this item recognition will get connected to voice ordering, and it's going to create a lot of efficiencies because it, like I said, liberates you from the tyranny of the computer.
Tyranny of the computer. Wow. There's going to have to be an image for that. Do you have a sense about whether item recognition has a bigger play in industrial or in construction?
Probably construction, just because there are fewer fixed places to order from, and it's a more mobile environment. But I don't know. I mean, that's just my top of mind answer.
Okay, good. We've also talked about AI-based product recommendations. Kristen mentioned that in her background about the White Cup CRM for likely complementary products. For a long time, distributors had various cross-sell analytics, perhaps in an ERP, perhaps in some dusty part of the business that never got deployed. Products like White Cup are bringing this to the front line, where you can use AI-based product recommendations. So those are definitely gaining traction. Here's really the big piece that's exciting from the last year, and I've mentioned this before. I did not see ChatGPT coming. I mean, I really whiffed big time on this. But here's an example of a question to ChatGPT, which Ian pointed out is actually incorrectly stated. I said, what are the best nose brands? What I meant to say was, what are the best brands of nose foam pads to go with an N95 mask? And ChatGPT gives me a little bit of background on these foam pads, but then it says here are the manufacturers that we could go to on this. And I think, even if we just look a year ago, ChatGPT's knowledge of products was not as good as it is now. I think, Ian, you had done a couple of searches. You had a 50% success in the examples that you did.
Yeah, right.
So this type of technology, here's what's changed. Here's what's going to change over the next few years in a radical way. Until now, until the advent of this type of technology, in the shopping phase, there were a couple things that were lights out in terms of, meaning the distributor didn't have to be involved. If I want to reorder something, I go to my e-commerce site. I go to the e-commerce site, or perhaps I'm doing it through Punchout. If I want to buy another item from a product category I know well, I don't need to talk to my rep about that. I can go to an e-commerce site, look at the product specs, and figure out which one I want to order. The part of the shopping phase that has been really the province of human beings is, what product category do I need? What does a solution look like? And I really believe that these smart chatbots, these virtual assistants, are going to take a big chunk out of that in terms of the value add of what humans do. There will always be a place for humans in the sales cycle. But this just took a big chunk out of what humans can do. Here's another example using Genesis, what used to be called Bard. And can you recommend a USB drive for my HP computer? So this one starts off just giving me background about USB drives: capacity, speed, durability. And then I'm not showing all the examples, but I think it recommended 4 different specifics of USB drives. So it starts with the Samsung Fit plus USB 3.1 flash drive. There are other products besides the big ones that we know, and I know that there are technology companies that are experimenting with building this into their own products. So really coming to a theater near you very soon, and the days of that lukewarm chat experience, I think, may be over in the next few years with the advent of AI. Ian, thoughts?
No, I think that we're going to get, first of all, it's fascinating to me how quickly this got normalized. That ChatGPT, we'd never heard of it a year ago. And now just the notion of using it to help you, write emails or marketing posts or articles or whatever. And I know it's not that great at it, but it's getting great. It's getting better all the time, right? And it's going to soon be better than most people can write on their own. And we just kind of like shrug our shoulders. Isn't that cool? These capabilities are phenomenal. And Greg Hinton, who's one of the pioneers in AI, is already arguing that actually these tools do understand what they're writing. They're not just prediction engines. And so I don't know if he's right, but that's what he's saying. And I think what makes it so hard to predict, Jonathan, is AI improves on its own and it builds its own AI. And so the rate of improvement in capabilities is happening at a rate that we have a hard time adjusting to and predicting outcomes around. And so I think you have to stay up on this because, it used to be, it's like, well, if I'm a year late getting a CRM or 5 years late or 10 years late, it's not terminal to my business. Maybe I'm less efficient. But you don't have that kind of time anymore. You've got to stay up on this stuff because things are happening so fast. I don't know. That's my view.
100%. No, that there was the notion of internet years,
Yeah.
which I guess is the opposite of dog years. Like dog years, like 7 years. I don't. Maybe it's the same. But we're in the same kind of warp time speed with AI, and it may be even faster.
Yeah. Yeah. We have another question. Are you aware of any cases where a manufacturer distributor has trained or created an LLM that knows tens of thousands of products? I am not. Are you?
I'm not, but it has to be happening.
Yeah. Right. I
Right.
agree.
So yeah. So on the buying and invoicing technologies adoption curve, 2024 versus 2027, we looked at really three broad categories of things, a whole swath that we call touchless ordering technologies. And that includes e-commerce, EDI, punch out, email order automation, voice ordering. But we're actually, so the touchless ordering is already in the late majority for so many distributors. They have at least one or more of those things that we mentioned. And over the next 3 years, that will get to the 90% adoption level or range. As I said at the outset, I do view many of these as mature technologies, at least as a category. It doesn't mean that there's not innovation happening within the category of technology, but the categories are mature. We're going to look at a couple of specific things in the touchless ordering in just a second. Automated invoicing and payment collection. Look at that, going from early majority to laggard by 2027. One of the things I can tell you is, and this is a technology trend, there is a proliferation of companies that do this right now. My guess is we'll start to see consolidation of those companies, but there was a big phase of companies that do automated invoicing and payment collection. And that means there's funding probably from venture capital to get these things going. So I think this is really one where we're jumping 2 phases in the technology curve for that. We'll also talk about the voice command, like Alexa for placing orders. So as mentioned, touchless ordering really is any way that you get orders from customers where the distributor doesn't have to do a keystroke. And that can be e-commerce, it can be email, it can be EDI, it can be punch out, it could be voice. One of the things that we've emphasized over the years, and we've watched a number of distributors do this, is look at the total bag of orders that are coming through touchless. Don't look just at e-commerce. So can you get to 50% touchless ordering in the totality of e-commerce, email order automation, EDI, and punch out? Can voice ordering take that to the next level? When you can get to that 50% or more level, you're starting to see really significant efficiency gains in the company. You tell me what your cost per order is to enter an order, multiply that by the number of orders that you have times 50%, and then that's the value that you're generating. Ian and I've spoken about voice ordering for quite a while here, and we really believe that this explosion in AI is going to take that to the next level. ChatGPT does take voice. So some of you, actually, our colleague Brian has been using the voice option on ChatGPT. That is going to drive what's happening with voice command, voice search in other applications as well. So really seeing that Alexa-like functionality in the next 3 years get to the early majority phase. Okay, there have been some interesting updates in the email order automation. One of the secrets that we uncovered is that a number of years ago when we started surveying end customers was this is really the preferred way to send orders. It means they don't have to enter an order in an e-commerce system. And one of the really big innovations recently is the flexibility of these systems. So rather than requiring a structured format that is then mapped and scanned, the new wave of email order automation can take very unstructured data. It can take text messages. It can take voice messages. And this stuff can be automatically converted into the ERP without human intervention. Now, I should say without human intervention most of the time. These things do learn and get smarter. The other piece that's really significant is that even if the orders are missing a part or are just a general specification, those can get converted and put into the ERP and processed the way they were before. So the net effect of these changes, and there are a number of companies that are doing this now, is email order automation is available to a much broader swath of your customers. It's not just your top, 3 to 8% who are high volume orders. It can learn and get smarter. It can take very unstructured things, including in some cases handwritten messages. Let's look at an example here of that kind of a change. If we look at this, and these are fictitious names here, so please don't call Matthew Hudson. I think you'll get a wrong number if you do. But if you look at this specification, it says I want 71 1/4 EMT. It doesn't mention a brand. It doesn't mention a SKU. And the first 8 or 10 lines of this order have that flavor where they are not specific. And what goes into the ERP is something very specific. It's got a SKU here, it's got a type, it's got a description. This ability to take vague, hey, I just want a big can of PVC glue. Well, what does that mean? Okay, well, maybe we had to have a manual intervention on the first time. Next time somebody says big can of PVC glue, we know what that means. So we're just expecting new levels of productivity and efficiency, as well as customer delight. Customers love getting fast turnaround on orders, accurate turnaround. The same technology is also being used for automated quote formation. So big changes there.
Hey, Jonathan, on that, it's taking unstructured data and turning it into an ERP order, but you have to have your data very well organized for this to work right, correct?
You mean your own
data.
PIM data and ERP
Yeah.
data? Probably, but I think that's one of the really powerful things that happens with AI. I've yet to meet a distributor who is not sheepish about their own data, whether it's a $2 million distributor or a $20 billion distributor.
Right.
Everybody's like, oh, our data. It's like, yeah, everybody says that. So maybe your data is worse than the others, but it's definitely tallest baby kind of thing. There aren't any tall babies. There are just taller babies.
Got it. Okay.
So one of the things about AI is that it is resilient in the face of bad data sometimes. And that was, speaking of Jeff Hinton, I did work with a colleague of his, Paul Smolenski, 30 years ago. That was a really big idea that they were putting forward, is that it degrades gracefully, and it can handle imperfect data in a way that the more structured systems cannot.
We have a couple of questions or a comment on a question. So Joe, friend of the show. Hi, Joe. Just a note, I have found a great new tool in the newer versions of Microsoft Windows. It is their Copilot attached to your taskbar. It is very similar to ChatGPT. In fact, I think it actually is ChatGPT, but also can be integrated with programs and documents that you're working on. So yeah, I have noticed that too. I haven't tried it yet, but I do know it's powered by ChatGPT because Microsoft made such a multi-billion-dollar investment in that company. And then Amit wants to know any recommendations for this type of solution, email order automation. And I think the ones we know about are Connexium, Revolgo in the electrical business, Partfinity.
Not just electrical, by the way.
Not just electrical? Okay.
Yeah.
And IDL in PDF, Canals is in.
They're not specific to industry.
They're not specific to industry either. Okay. And then Partfinity does wire and cable. So there's some of them are focused by product category, others are not, but there's a growing number of them, Amit. So reach out if you want to talk further.
Good. One of the other pieces that's really big, we mentioned the automated invoicing and payment. A lot of people get excited about the prospect of reducing the number of days sales outstanding, getting a tighter collection cycle. And there is certainly that benefit in using the automated invoicing and payment systems. I think in a lot of cases, the bigger benefit is going to be the free up of one or more FTEs, full-time equivalents, who are spending time reconciling invoices. So $100 million company might free up literally 2 people, 2 FTEs on automated invoicing and payment. And again, I would say this is actually getting to be a mature technology, and that's why we're starting to see such rapid adoption. So really encourage people to look at getting this efficiency. And by the way, it does create a better customer experience as well. So you get both of those with the automated invoicing and AR. Okay, we're going to talk about fulfillment now, and there's some interesting things happening here trend-wise. One is that the RFID and similar for tracking inventory is expected to be kind of at a standstill, which is really surprising. We're showing it going from a 30% adoption to 32% adoption. It's a 2% gain. It's still going to stay in that early majority phase. Oddly, with all of the advent of AI, the voice command, similar, going to remain in that early adopter phase, nominal lift. But here's where there's really big shift. One is autonomous vehicles for delivering products. I would not say drone, by the way. We really believe that drone is not yet ready for prime time. The economics have not been proven. But the autonomous vehicles going from 1% to 8% over the next 3 years is a really significant shift. The robots for picking, packing, shipping, or other warehouse tasks going from almost innovator phase at 4% to right in the middle of that early majority is a really, really big shift. And then the role of using AI for tracking inventory, we're going to look at a couple of examples on this. So not quite the same adoption base on these technologies, and definitely not ending up in late majority or laggard on any of these, but 3 of them really seeing the material shift over the next few years. I'm going to show a video next. I think let me drop out of the share here and yeah, so this is AI for inventory warehouse drones. And I want to just show a little bit of this video. See, I think I need to put the sound on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. Good. Oh, sorry. My bad. Picked the wrong thing. Okay, here we go. So this is a inventory drone that is getting
Using drones is a new technology within our warehouses. The counting of stock is very important because it supports our productivity, but it supports also the supply chains of our customers and the predictability of the deliveries. Counting stock and having the right stock levels is very important.
Full autonomous operation, and that's really the fantastic thing. The drones are flying, let's say they're controlled by the system. They know exactly to each centimeter where they're located to. So it's also that we don't have to read barcodes and the position of a rack, but of course the drone knows where it is, and then by scanning the barcodes or taking the picture, we can compare that with the information we have in our systems.
We've created a
Pretty cool.
we're going to look at another one, and then Ian and I are going to have a good discussion here about both these because there's some interesting things going on. This one is robotic. Okay, so Ian and I have some slightly differing views on how this will be deployed. My view is that when we look at the disruption of AI and technology to the distribution business, I think that the warehouse is going to look very, 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 very different in about 6 or 7 years.
I think it depends on the warehouse. So what I mean by that is, and you know, this is not normally talked about in these terms, but I think it's a very, very real issue, which is that some distributors operate warehouses where there are a lot of open boxes and cases and ship packs and sell packs, well, ship packs. And some distributors operate in an environment where that's all pretty pristine. You've got shipping cases and pallets. And I think these robots are going to be killers in warehouses where you have, you know, nothing but pallets and closed boxes. And the minute you open the box up and you have to reach inside, it becomes really hard to do inventory with those drones, and it becomes really hard to pick. And that's why I think, like, even Amazon today, they've got robots from the spot where the product is stored to the shipping area, but they still have a whole bunch of human beings putting their hands in open ship packs. And so I think that, you know, if you look at like an HVAC distributor or MRO distributor, you know, the boxes in the warehouse are often open all over the place because you got 100 thermostats in this case and you pick one out. If you're a master distributor or you're in food or pharma or something where you tend to, or electronics where you tend to ship whole case, you know, round lots, I guess, I think robots and automation make a lot more sense, and it's going to be another decade before they can pick for you.
So I think to your point, if you look at both of these videos that we just shared, so the second one emphasized pallets and cases,
Right.
right? The first one showed an absolutely pristine warehouse,
Right.
right? I mean, it was, it could not have been more pristine. I think what's going to happen in terms of the evolution is in the same way that ChatGPT spotted my ill-formed sentence to find the nose accessory for the N95. I think that the ability of robots to work in less pristine environments will evolve over the next number of years.
Sure.
So,
Agreed.
so my sense is that what you're saying is 100% correct for where this stuff gets deployed today.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we'll see an adoption over the next several years as the technology grows as well.
Yeah, robots are getting more dexterous, right?
Rabbits too, probably.
No, rabbits are about the same in dexterity, but
Okay.
I mean, they're slowly evolving.
So we just have a couple more pieces here, and then I think we can wrap up. So we wanted to talk a little bit about support. We didn't survey on it this year, although we will be doing it in future years. Couple things that we think are really interesting as a support application. One is what's known as sentiment analysis. Sentiment analysis is where you're looking at text or speech to determine what the customer said and what the tone of that was, what the emotional tone was. Was it a happy tone, very happy tone, neutral, negative, highly negative tone? There is now technology which is in use in surveys. By the way, we've got it embedded in our technology for some sentiment analysis. But for support, there's one where it's actually listening to conversations with CSRs or with tech support in a distributor, and it's generating output that does the sentiment analysis, provides coaching that is very powerful. So I think that's exciting. The second piece, which probably a number of you are using, automated transcription. If we were doing a regular Zoom call, we could have this turned on. Actually, can we have it turned on for this call, Ian? I don't know.
Probably.
But automated transcription is becoming very powerful. Adoption is happening very quickly. Converting text into speech also plays into the support environment. But the really big one is back to, we looked at the role of the LLM, ChatGPT, Genesis type technology in the sales role. It's going to play the same role in tech support. We have the question about, our manufacturers getting it focused on their own products. We know that has to be happening, and that's going to make its way down into tech support. Now, what we'll likely see as a rollout is it's doing tier 1 tech support, meaning it's handling some of the easier questions. It will know when it needs to do escalation to tier 2 tech support. And that's really what you hope for, whether it's a human being doing tier 1 tech support or an automated bot doing tech support. In the few cases where Ian and I have done different tests of these systems, it's had very good self-awareness to know when we should contact, for example, the HVAC manufacturer of the equipment in Ian's home, as opposed to trying to handle it itself. So I think we'll see this migration over time from handling tier 1 eventually to tier 2 and deeper as the technology gets richer. Okay, so what does all of this mean in terms of the state of distributor technology? From last year to this year, we've just seen an explosion in adoption, an explosion in new types of technology. And this is compelling because, to be honest, distributors are not known for being early adopters of technology. The company, when tech companies look for segments that do early adopting, they look at telecom, they look at finance, distribution and manufacturing are a little further down the road. So we've seen a really significant change in distribution technology adoption. AI is a significant portion of the adoption. So that could be AI as a feature, like the transcription, or it could be AI as the system. where AI is the main thing that's being delivered. The thing that we know is that technology adoption really can drive greater efficiency for the distributor, but it can also deliver a better customer experience, often at the same time. And the whole world of digital transformation really needs to be looking at where you can get efficiency and better customer experience. We believe even more now than ever that to stay technologically competitive is going to require significant investment. This is going to mean different things for different size companies. Obviously, a $10 million distributor can't spend as much as a $10 billion distributor, but they're going to have to be thoughtful choices made about when and how technology gets deployed to remain competitive with customer experience and efficiency. And with that, back to you, Ian.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Nice job, Jonathan. I want to tell you about a couple upcoming programs. So if you could all hold on for just a minute, I would appreciate it. So does that look okay, Jonathan?
Yes.
On March 20th at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, the Wholesale Change Show, our regular podcast and webcast, will feature Renata Morgan, who's the new president of Reams Northeast Division, on transforming independent distributors into a unified force. There's 2 or 3 companies have been rolled together there, Jonathan, and she's building cultures and connecting people. And it's a really interesting story. And she's a fascinating and gifted leader. We're lucky to have her on the program. Then on March 27th at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, we will do a distribution leader panel. This is really interesting. Got Mike Powers from ARG, the Old Alaska Rubber Group, Klaus Werner, who's been at several different distributors and is currently running a consulting practice called Agility Group, but he's been at, Global Industrial and others. And Jared Anderson, who's the president and co-owner of Walker's Office Supplies, talking about advancing distributor e-commerce in 2024 and beyond. Both of those are brought to you by our good friends at White Cup. So make sure you go to whitecupsolutions.com, check out their product offering, which is so much to do with what we talked about today. And we'll talk about on these upcoming programs. You can reach me at iheller@distributionstrategy.com, Jonathan at jbine@distributionstrategy.com. Jonathan, great working with you together. As always, you did a wonderful job. It was a lot of fun, and I know the audience got a lot out of it.
Thanks, Dan. This was great.
Yeah, absolutely. So everyone, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it. Hope your business grows between now and the next time we see you on a program from Distribution Strategy Group. Bye now.